right, another episode of the Outstanding Life podcast with the Motivational Cowboy, Johnny D. That's right, that is me. And in the house right now in Charlotte, North Carolina, I am sitting with my very first real NASCAR driver on the show. I have done 13, 14, 15 shows, and I have never gotten a real NASCAR driver on the show. So in the house with me right now is Noah Gragson. How are you, man?
I'm doing good.
Man, we just had a wonderful lunch. You just missed it here just a little bit ago, and there was a snake in the conference room. Are you afraid of snakes?
I am very afraid of snakes. I'm afraid of them, but I'm not. I know they're not going to do anything,
right.
The ones that aren't poisonous, but I think they're weird.
This thing looked scary. I came out of the bathroom. I thought the guys were playing a joke on me. And all of a sudden, it lunged at me. Oh. And you saw the videos. That the thing was only like 6 inches wide, but the mouth felt like it was big as my hand.
Oh,
it was scary. So you're afraid of snakes. So wait a second. So you can drive your truck at 200 miles per hour, not being scared, but you are afraid of something that kind of it just moves around on the ground a little bit.
Yeah, I'm the type of guy where it's like, oh, there's a spider in the house, or oh, there's a snake in the house. Time to burn the house down and move, And
you said that exactly to Greg. You're like, okay, it's time to move.
No,
time to burn that place down.
Not even worth trying to. You don't know how many more snakes. I mean, there could be a snake in the bed,
I was like, hey, listen, if there is a small one, I go, there has to be another mom or something moving around. And you're just like me. Now you just moved your chair back.
Yeah, just look down on the ground. I'm looking under the table right now. I mean.
Okay, so everybody knows you for NASCAR. You're from Las Vegas, Nevada. You are how old now?
20 years old. I turned 20 in July.
Old. Man, how long have you been racing?
I've been racing since 2012. I started when I was 13 and then halfway
Wait a second. You started at 13 years old?
Yep.
That's late these days.
It's very late.
Oh, my God. There are kids out there racing at 4 and 5 years old now.
6 years old. That's what I
Does that
I
feel
tell everyone.
crazy for you to see some of these kids growing up or you're watching TV? I was watching MAV TV the other day, and they were at a short track. And, when you're inside that race car, we can't tell if you're 6 foot tall or if you're 5 foot tall. We can't tell if you're a man or a woman. We know you just with the helmet and you are kicking some butt on the racetrack. These kids got out of the car. The kid that won was 11. The girl that came in second was 9.
That's crazy.
They grabbed the microphone like they were a professional race car driver.
Yeah.
It was the craziest thing ever. Yeah. And then all of a sudden, I was hooked for the next 2 hours of watching MAV TV.
That is awesome.
It was so cool. What's it like for you, though? You started at 13 years old. What got you into even wanting to race?
Well, I was always the kid that was jumping his BMX bike, mountain biking, dirt biking, snowboarding, skateboarding, all those action extreme sports. That was me. I was that kid breaking bones, breaking my wrist, doing all that stuff.
You have broken things.
I've broken 9 bones.
No kidding.
Yep.
Wow.
And so,
and you're 20.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
So I've been a daredevil. I've toned it back, knock on wood, that I don't break any more bones because I have to race and
that's right.
The team and everyone wouldn't be happy. But I started doing that stuff when I was younger. 5 years old, I broke my hand jumping my BMX bike. So I've been doing it forever, right? And so I've been doing that, and then I always wanted to race.
Yeah.
I liked action sports. I liked motorsports. Collected little Hot Wheels cars, and never really had that opportunity. My friend Riley Herbst, he races in the ARCA series.
Yep.
We were buddies growing up. His family is really big into off-road racing, the Baja 1000. I don't know if you heard that, but down in Mexico. Do all the trophy truck stuff, everything. And so we were best friends. I always saw him racing growing up, and I'm like, that'd be really cool. But like I said, never had that opportunity.
Right.
So finally got the opportunity to go out to a racetrack when I was younger.
Just to watch or actually race?
Well, I went and did electric go-kart racing. My dad took me there, and I did that for about a year. 2011.
Were you good?
And I was really good when I started. And so Riley's dad, he raced, and he knows a lot about racing. He's like, hey, Scott, which is my father, he's like, you should take Noah and try and let him race a real car sometime. So my dad, one of the guys in his office, his business partner, his kids were 8 years old at the time. And they were racing out at the local speedway in Las Vegas called the Bull Ring, a little short track, 3/8 mile. And so Bandoleros, it's basically a go-kart with a roll cage and a body on it.
Right.
Just a lawnmower motor. They go about
they look
60
so cool.
miles an hour. Oh, they look awesome. They look like a quarter scaled stock car.
Yeah, exactly.
So it was really cool. So I went out there Wednesday. I remember I was 7th grade. Wednesday of my spring break.
Right.
The season started that Friday and Saturday. And so we were just I didn't even know if I was going to race. I just went out there to test the car, see if I was going to like it, and went out for like 4 or 5 laps. And I could have done more, but I came in and I had the biggest smile on my face.
Like you do right now telling the story.
Exactly. So, and I just wanted to come in and tell them, this is what we're doing this weekend, is racing.
Noah, I always talk about in every single podcast and every single person I've had on the show, they have had an aha moment. Was that your aha moment when you got out of the car and you're like, you know what, this is what I want to do. This is super sweet.
I think there are 2 aha moments for me. That first one is after doing those 4 or 5 laps and saying, like, that hooked me into loving racing.
Yeah.
And then when I found out, okay, I could maybe make a career out of this.
Yeah.
And I mean, I've always loved it, but actually seeing a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel, like, hey, I can continue this. So I raced the Bandolero for 1 year and won the track championship. And then I moved up into Legend Cars, which is pretty much the next stepping stone, the next step in the ladder.
I appreciate you
racing.
telling, because for the fans that are out there listening to this podcast right now, a lot of them don't know anything about racing.
Right.
They just want to know you as a person. So I appreciate you painting the story for everybody about these different steps. So thank you.
So I moved up after that first year racing the Bandolero into these cars called Legend Cars, which is the next series up, and ran that for 2 years, won a world championship in that. But it's still a lot of younger guys racing. It's not professional by any means, just very low amateur racing. And so I ran that, and then there were a couple series. You start getting into the stock car series and super late models, street stocks.
Was it always
like
asphalt or was it dirt too?
Yeah, always asphalt.
Okay.
And so racing those cars was an option for me to move up after those 2 years of Legend Cars. So this was back in 2014, was my last year in Legend Cars, my 3rd year racing. And then 2015 is when we were going to go race a couple, like, stock cars, big cars. And so we weren't really sure what I wanted to do. And then the opportunity came about for me to race in the NASCAR K&N Pro Series, which is
great series.
One step below the NASCAR Truck Series. And so with NASCAR, they have the 3 premier tiers: the Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series, which is the top. Then if you look at it like a pyramid, the Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series is at the top. Then right below that is the Xfinity Series. And then right below that is the Truck Series, which I currently race in 2018. And so below the Truck Series is regional racing, and that is the NASCAR K&N Pro Series, and then modifieds and a Canadian Series Tour, but they're all under that ranking of regional series. So there's the West and the East Series. And then below the West and the East Series is your local short track racing, where you go run for a full year at your local racetrack. And so that's what you go Legend Cars, and then you go to your local racetracks and run stock cars there.
Right.
Well, the car count wasn't great at the bull ring. They got 8 to 10 cars a weekend. There wasn't a lot of competition.
Same people every weekend.
Exactly. And so we're like, man, this is kind of going to be our deciding year if we want to continue. It's getting more expensive. The higher you go up, it gets more expensive. Sponsors.
Did you have to talk your parents into doing it?
I think,
especially the higher up you went.
I didn't have to talk them into it, just because I showed a lot of passion and I showed a lot of effort into it. And I think that kind of did all the talking for itself, where my family was very supportive of me just because they knew I loved it.
You walk the walk and you talk the talk.
Exactly. And so we were looking at our options, and do we want to go run the local racetrack, or it's never really heard of for a guy to go straight out of a Legend car up to that K&N series.
Right.
I mean, that's a really big jump. And we're like, I mean, we didn't know any better. Nobody in my family raced. So
Right.
I had the opportunity. A team contacted me. They needed a driver for that year. And we're like, hell yeah, we'll do it. You know,
I love it.
We wouldn't have had that opportunity until they contacted us. So,
Right.
Ended up racing the full NASCAR Can-Am Pro Series season.
How'd you do that
on
first
the
year?
West Coast? And going into it, before my first race, I'm like, man, I wish I can get a couple top 10 finishes, hopefully finish top 10 at the end of the season in the point standings, and that'll be a successful year.
Right, yeah.
We go into my first race in Bakersfield, California at Kern County Raceway Park, and I ended up third.
Wow.
And they interview the top 3 drivers for TV. I've never done an interview before.
Your eyes, like for those of you that are listening right now, his eyes got real big. Like oh my God, the microphone's going to come up.
For a 16-year-old kid, you're like, oh my God, I'm going to be on TV. This is awesome, right? You know, compared to the other kids in high school and in their school, they're not doing TV interviews.
How'd that first interview go?
I looked like a deer in headlights, huffing and puffing. I mean, it was really, really bad.
Yeah.
It was terrible. I mean.
But third place, that's great.
So I finished third in my first race. I'm like, that's cool. That's really cool. I don't know if I can keep that going. 2 races later, I ended up winning in my third career start in the K&N Series.
That's awesome.
After making that big jump from Legend Cars up into the K&N Series. So ended up winning in my third start.
Wow.
And that is that second eye-opener, aha moment where it's like, okay, I can finally see a little bit of a future in this, and that's where it really started as a career.
Noah, you know, it's funny that you said it like that because being the guy that interviews the NASCAR drivers on the Chevy stage and stuff, kids will come up to me that just want to watch the interview and want to watch the driver talk. Well, I get to know these young boys and, you know, girls, and they always talk about, it happened twice this year already. And they came up to me and they said, Johnny D, oh my God, I don't get passed anymore. I pass other people. And they got so excited. And we're talking 8, 9, 10-year-old kids that are in go-karts. And they got excited because they learned how to pass. I just felt that like with you, it's like, you know, you have that moment of, okay, I either have to learn or I'm going to keep getting passed. Mm-hmm. And it's so cool to know that motivation of wanting to now go from third to winning. What was your parents like when you got that first win? I mean, I knew you were excited, but were they just as excited for you?
They're very supportive of me, and I'm so fortunate to have a family that is able to go to the racetrack and able to support me, and they want to be at the racetrack just as bad as I do because they want to see me succeed. So I'm very fortunate to have a family that wants to do that. And so it's funny, my uncle, he comes to the racetrack with us too. Yeah. And they said, like my grandma always says, ever since Uncle Todd has come to the racetrack with you, and ever since you've been racing, he's been a different person. He's loving everything. He's way more outgoing and whatnot. And I always looked up to my uncle and everything. And so I remember
kind of changing.
I remember at that race, my third race, it was at Tucson Raceway in Arizona. We ended up winning. It was we had a 3-car team that race. Okay. And what's cool about this story is, and about this race is with this team, it was their first year ever. Really? Yeah. And so
you got their first win too.
I got their first win, third race, but what's even better than that is one of my teammates was second and my other teammate was third. So all 3 of us swept the top 3.
That's cool.
In the team's third race ever as a team. So that was really special, I know, for the team. And I get down in victory lane. I jump up on top of the roof of the car. I'm spraying water everywhere. Everyone's cheering. And I see my uncle at the fence telling the security guard, that's my nephew right there. And he's pointing to his shirt right there. Let me down there. And so we're taking a group picture. Yeah. And he's been drinking a little bit, you know, getting all pumped up for the race. And and he's down there, and we were all doing number ones, and he's got his tongue out, number one. And, I mean, he was pumped up for it.
Yeah. So where did you end up that year?
So I ended up chasing the championship point standing battle, first in points back and forth with a guy named Chris Eggleston.
Okay.
Throughout the whole year.
Wow.
I'd be the points leader for, I think we had 14 races that year, and so he'd lead some, and then I'd lead 2 or 3 weekends, and then the next 2 or 3 weekends it'd go back to him, and then I had the points lead after I won the third to last race, which is in Meridian. So I had 2 wins that year in 2015.
Wow, that's awesome.
In the series. And so I was a points leader going into the second to last race, and I was leading by 2 points over Chris Eggleston, the 99 car. We go into the second to last race. The pressure's on. I mean, everybody has it in the back of the mind that this is one of the closest points battle that has been in the history of the series.
Yeah.
And for a young guy like me who was hoping, man, I wish I could finish top 10 in the point standings at the end of the year. Now I'm like,
yeah, you can win
this. I want to win this damn championship,
yeah.
you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
And so we go into that second to last race. It's a small, tiny little racetrack, a 1/4 mile racetrack, the smallest track we go to in the whole series. And we get about 10 laps to go, 15 laps to go, and I got this guy, number 99, Chris Eggleston, right on my back bumper. I'm running second. He's running third. 15 laps to go, 2 points separating us, and none of us are going to give.
Right.
And so we keep on clicking off laps. He's right on my back bumper. He's hitting me down the straightaway. Well, one lap down the straightaway, getting into the corner. I mean, it's really tight.
Right,
You're on the straightaway, and then you turn, and then you're on the straightaway.
Yeah.
I mean, everything happens.
We have Flat Rock Speedway back by my house. Same way, little tracks. I know exactly what you're talking about.
So, like, everything happens so quick, but when you're behind the wheel of the race car, it's, for us race car drivers, judgment is a big key to how you are.
Absolutely.
And so this guy has pretty good judgment, and I know he's a good driver, and I feel like I'm a pretty good driver. And we get about 5 laps to go in the race, and this guy's been on my back bumper for the last 10 laps, so he knows where I've been lifting off the gas pedal, where I've been braking.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, my back tires are picked up off the racetrack, and I'm spinning backwards and rolling backwards up the racetrack in the split second.
Right.
And that's when I got really mad. He knew that there's 5 laps to go in the race, second to last race, separated by 2 points. And in every position you finish is you get 1 point.
Okay.
And so the most amount of points at the end of the year wins the title. And so he knew that I was going to, I think I led a lap, and so that's 1 point. And if you lead the most laps, it's 1 point.
But he didn't take you out of the race yet, did he?
Not 5 to go.
Okay.
But he dumped me. He spun me out with 5 laps to go on this little 1/4 mile.
Did you get him back?
And the whole field passed me. And so I ended up finishing 8th in this race. He ended up finishing 2nd. So now we're going into the last race of the final season. Now he's 4 points ahead of me in the series standings for the championship. And
this is awesome.
We get done with this race, and I'm furious. His teammate, Brandon McReynolds, who's driving the other team car for that team,
right?
He comes up to me. He's after that race, and even though he's Chris Eggleston's teammate, he still comes up to me, a competitor, and he says, "Hey, man, that's bullshit. You go up there and you tell him that ain't cool,
right? And
that's not the way you want to be raced, because that's bullshit. He just wrecked you. He wrecked you on purpose."
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, that's Brandon McReynolds. Like, that guy, his dad's Larry McReynolds. They call him America's crew chief. He was a crew chief for Dale Earnhardt Sr.
Yeah, absolutely.
Fox Sports broadcaster. I mean, this guy's a legend.
Right.
And his son's coming up, who I've been racing against all year and looked up to, saying that's bullshit.
Right.
And so that's where I'm like, well, if Brandon's saying that to me, like, it's definitely not good. And so I was all fired up. I was pissed off that this guy just dumped me. Total coward, cheap shot move.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, I got to get him back. but I don't want to do it by retaliating. I want to go out to the final race in Phoenix
and beat them.
Yeah. Heads up, straight up, and that's going to make it feel even worse for him.
And that's tough, isn't it?
It's
as a driver
for
to get that out of your
16-year-old kid.
That's right.
It's extremely tough.
Well, we see it these days with a total adult at 30, 40, 50 years old, that it's still tough to actually think about it all week long until that next race. I mean, that's tough too.
What was good about that situation is from the second to last race where I got dumped to the final race of the season, there is 3 to 4 weeks in between.
Oh,
so it gave
you some time to cool off.
Had it been that next weekend,
I
probably would have widowmakered him.
Right.
Like, it would not have been good.
3-4 weeks later, final race.
We get to the racetrack, and this is the biggest race of the season.
Right.
1, because it's the final race, the championship's on the line. But 2, we're racing at Phoenix International Raceway.
That's so cool.
A 1 mile long track, the biggest track we go to all year of the season.
Yeah.
It's my first time there. All the NASCAR Monster Energy Cup guys are there. The truck guys are there. The Xfinity guys are there. The top guys in this series who are watching this race, and they're going to crown a champion at the end of this, right? So we get there. I'm all nervous about how the weekend's going to go, and my team's all pumping me up, just focus on getting it done. Well, we didn't run very good as a team. I mean, we were up front pretty much all year, but that weekend we were off on our setup. So we really had to work and dig deep. We qualified 20th when we've been qualifying up front and racing up front, and battling for the lead and racing for the wins. And so that was really hard is we're in practice and we're 25th on the board.
And you're not used to that.
Oh, man. And then I look down the garage and I see the number 99 car jacked up on jack stands, and they're pulling the motor out of it. I'm like, what's going on with him? He blew up the motor in practice. He didn't get to practice at all. So that created some more drama.
Right.
So
you
didn't
feel so bad now.
I'm like, this is good. I'm all pumped up. He's not getting any practice time. We got some practice time. I know we're not great on our speed, but he's not getting any practice. So we got at least 1 foot forward on him. We end up qualifying 25th, not very good. And I have 100 laps to drive my way up to the field. He didn't get any practice, and he qualified like 10th or something. So he's quite a bit ahead of me. And I had to beat him by 4 positions in that race. And if I beat him, I win the championship, and that's that. And so the cards aren't necessarily in my favor because I'm behind him. I'm starting 15 spots behind him, 4 points down. Right now, I'm at a 19-point disadvantage, right? 19-spot disadvantage. So we get through the race. A couple guys are wrecking. I start picking off some spots myself, and we get about 90 laps into the 100-lap race, and we get a caution, and I find myself right behind this guy.
Oh, no.
And I'm like, you know what? So I pull up next to him. I'm revving my motor, letting him know, hey, buddy, I'm here. And any little movement.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm here. And I already, he knows that I have one on him to get him back. That's where the intensity really ramped up. So I'm revving it up. I'm getting next to him, kind of weaving next to him, hitting him a little bit under the caution laps while they're cleaning up the track because someone wrecked or something. So we get, and I know right there I'm 1 spot behind him. So I have to beat him by 4. I have to pass him and beat him by 4 spots to win this championship. So we get the green flag. We start the race back up with about 6 laps to go. They count the caution laps. So we start with about 6 laps to go. I end up passing him and getting 2. I passed 2 more cars. So he still is leading by 2. He's still leading the championship by 2 points because I still need to pass 2 more cars. So going into that last lap, I'm like, man, there's no way the 2 cars in front of me are far in front of me. I'm not going to be able to win this.
Yeah.
So I lifted early into the turn 1, like really early, let those 2 guys go by me and let him go by me. And so I was right on him going down the back straightaway into the final set of corners. I'm like, man, I'm going to bump him and hopefully shove him out to the wall and let him get a bunch of the dirt on his tires and everything.
Get up into the marbles.
Exactly. Get up in the marbles, wash him up there, and hopefully when he's up there, he's going to be slipping and sliding, and he'll kill his momentum, and then 4 of us will go by him.
Right, yeah.
So that was my intent. And so I bumped him a little bit, and people say that I was trying to wreck him, but I wasn't trying to wreck him because I wanted to wreck him. I could have got him really good. Like I probably could have sent him into the fence.
Right, like you did you.
Exactly. So I tried to move him, and there was a car right to his outside, and so he was all sideways sliding up the racetrack, and he hit that car, and it straightened him out. And then when he hit that car, he barely nicked him in the left rear tire, and that car came down the racetrack head on in front of me, and I hit him.
Oh.
And so it's like I was trying to do so. It was like instant karma, right?
Yeah. I was just gonna say that. Yeah.
And so we come around. We both get the checker flag. He finishes like 3 spots ahead of me. My right front tire is all blown out and everything, and I have to face that defeat of I didn't get the job done for not only myself, not only my family, but for my team who's worked so hard. And so that was really hard for me just because I knew that it wasn't all that fair on how it really went down.
Right.
It was kind of a cheap shot move, but I had to accept that. And
takes a real man to even say that.
It does. It's hard, but
because in life that happens all the time. And I'm so glad that for the young kids that are listening right now to this podcast, you said it. Take responsibility for yourself once in a while.
Exactly.
If you do something wrong, it's okay to say, hey, you know what? I'm sorry, I screwed up. There's nothing wrong with that as long as you learned from that mess up. Well, because you know darn well, being a race car driver, you know that you can't win a race in that first lap, but you can lose one.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I was actually talking to a lady yesterday. I was doing some media stuff and talking to her, and she said, what advice would you give to a younger driver, 8, 9, 10 years old, who is racing? And I told her to tell the truth. And when you hear that and you're like, I just asked you a question about what would you tell them about racing, and you say tell the truth, that has nothing to do with racing.
No,
well, let me explain why.
Yeah, no, please do, because I've never, after 18 years of doing this, I've never heard this. So please tell, sir. Please tell.
So with racing, you have a lot of people who, when you're the driver, you have a lot of people depending on you.
Absolutely.
It's actually not even with racing.
It's with everything in life.
It's with everything in life.
That's right.
Whether you're at your job or you're going to the grocery store, family, everything.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
I feel like telling the truth is so important, and owning up to your mistakes, because with all these people relying on you in the racing deal, let's say you go out there and you miss a shift and you peg the RPMs past the rev limiter and it hurts the motor a little bit.
Right.
And to be good, you have to tell that truth and you have to own up. I feel like people respect you more when you say, listen, I messed up. Here's what happened, instead of lying about stuff.
Absolutely.
And I feel like that's the most important advice I can give is when you mess up.
Dude, that's awesome.
Tell the truth and admit that you're wrong. It takes it's really hard, especially for younger people, to mature enough and say, listen, I was wrong. I mean, when you're a kid, you think you're invincible and you think you're do everything right, but people have more respect. And then when you really are right, they're going to trust that you're right. And understand, look, this guy does tell the truth, and this is what it is.
So, Noah, you are a young man. You're only 20 years old, and you're talking wisdom far beyond most people would ever imagine a 20-year-old being. Did somebody give you that advice, or is that something that you learned and you made yours?
I think
because you've had some great mentors, in this business in a short time.
I think it all goes back to my parents and my dad, mostly. I have an incredible family and incredible parents, and my dad has always taught me to always show respect no matter what. Yep. I remember we were in New York during Thanksgiving when I was younger on a family trip, and I was something happened. I have a twin sister, and we were messing around with each other not fighting, just
being
annoying
kids.
each other, giving each other a hard time. And something happened where I knew my sister forgot her phone or a wallet or something, and I saw it sitting on the counter, and we were leaving, and so we got on the subway, and I remember this very clearly, is we got on the subway, and she's like, oh, I forgot my wallet. And I knew deep down that she forgot it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, I saw it sitting there. And my dad's like, well, why didn't you say anything? You know, if you knew that it was there and you knew we were leaving, why didn't you say anything? And why? I mean, that just goes back to the respect for the person, just being a good person in general. And I always see my dad picking up trash and stuff, even if it's not his own. And he made it very clear. He's like, I don't care what it is. When you see me picking up trash or doing something, I don't get paid to do that, or I don't get paid to pick up an empty water bottle on the ground and throw it away. But that's what it is to be a good person. That's what being a person's all about. And so that really taught me, hey, I need to show, other examples, but that was really clear on that I need to be a better person and
tell the truth.
Just because it doesn't pay anything or people don't notice, it goes noticed when you're a good person. So.
I love these podcasts because, like I said, there is no editing buttons there. You know what I mean? It's just me and you talking for an hour. But one thing I noticed about you is, and this is so cool, and it kind of leads right into what you just said. The one thing I respect about you is you do give back. You are a young man. You've made it to the NASCAR series. You just got a deal for next year, 2 years with Junior Motorsports, driving that beautiful CL1 Camaro Chevy.
That's right.
But just last week, I get chills at certain times of when I talk about things. But Noah, I respect you as a young man because you give back. I saw pictures of you playing with kids at a children's hospital, dude. You walk in, they may not know who Noah is, but you walk in with a fire suit on it, and they look at you as a modern day superhero. You sit with them and they smile. What's it like for you to be a 20-year-old kid being able to have a platform now to give back?
Well, I really get that from my parents as well, as my dad's really big into supporting charity. And he's always been that, and I've seen that from a young age. And I didn't understand. I'm like, why are you giving away your time and giving away your money that you work so hard for others if they didn't earn it? And he was always at charity events and functions, and I never really understood, why are you doing this? And as it kept on happening, it became more clear. And as I kept on getting older and getting mature, it became more clear. And so I think helping others, that's not really my goal, but I don't say that in a negative way.
No, I get it.
I don't do it for like glory or anything like my goal is not to get any glory from helping others.
Absolutely.
I just like ultimately being a race car driver and putting smiles on people's faces. And so,
you're very humble.
When I go to
I love it.
the children's hospital and I see those kids, and it's really hard to do that because I don't like seeing these kids going through what they want to go through. You know, it's tough to see a kid walk in with a tube through his nose and
I just spent 3 days at St. Jude Hospital, kids with cancer. And just like you, I didn't go there for a reason. I went there because they said it would change my life. And being a motivational speaker and doing things that I feel like I am pretty positive all the time until I went there. And I walked out of there knowing that this little 5-year-old girl changed my life forever. Not knowing that if her life is even going to be around in another year or two. But I'm getting goosebumps right now.
Me too.
But by thinking about that and giving the parents just 5 minutes to be by themselves while you're playing with them. children's hospitals are fun, but kids always say the darndest things, and they are so honest. Do you have a funny story of maybe that a kid asked you a question that you thought it was funny, or maybe they told you something that was funny, or called you somebody else's name, or, because kids just say the darndest things.
I don't know. There's so many situations, I think. Nothing sticks out in my mind that I can think of right now, but
have you ever had to go and because just like you said, you were a race car driver. You weren't a public speaker. You weren't this, you weren't that. Have you yet to have to go to a school and give a presentation?
Yeah, I have.
What's
I've
that
done
like?
it a couple times.
Was that just as scary as getting inside that race car? Because they say that public speaking is the biggest fear in the world.
Like, I love racing, and that's where I feel the most comfortable. And so when I get in the race car, like, it's completely fine.
Right.
When I got in, so
tell me the story about
Safelite
this.
Auto Glass, they
Great
sponsored
company.
me this year in 2018, and between myself and Safelite, we've been doing a lot of stuff with the Boys and Girls Club. And
oh, awesome!
So when I'd be going to different tracks throughout this year, we'd go visit Boys and Girls Club for wherever we're racing.
Oh,
so
that's cool.
If we're in Kansas, we're going to a Boys and Girls Club there or whatnot. And at the start of this year, I mean, that's like really where I started talking to big groups. And Safelite brings probably 30 to 40 guests to the racetrack.
Yep.
Throughout the weekend, and they bring a big group there and check out the hauler, check out the race car and everything.
It's cool. They do a great job too.
Yeah, I mean, you see them there all the time. And so when I see all those people coming at first at Daytona earlier this year, I'm like,
you want to run.
Man, I got to talk to all these people, and I don't know what to talk about. And I was kind of awkward at first, but then it started becoming more and more natural to be able to talk to them and kind of present to them. And we'd be going to the Boys and Girls Clubs. And so talking to the Safelite group and the guests that would come to the racetrack, that's what made it a lot more natural when I got in front of the boys and girls at the Boys and Girls Club. And so at first when I stood in front of all those kids, and I mean, they asked some crazy questions. I think that's where they ask the craziest. They're like, they always, probably one or two of them.
I already know what you're going to say. I already know what you're going to say. There's always one question that comes out with you racers. Always. 18 years of doing this, it's always, every weekend, at least it comes up one time. How do you guys go to the bathroom inside the race car?
That's one of them. That one. And to answer that question, I have personally never do it.
Noah, it's just me and you right now. We're just about.
I've never done it.
Just a couple 100,000 people going to listen to this.
I swear on everything, I have never done it. Guys will actually go to they go pee in their suit.
Yeah, yep. They just
in the seat. They don't get out of their cars.
Yep.
They pee on themselves.
Yeah.
And it's the grossest. It's so gross.
Yeah. So what's one of the other questions that they always ask?
They always want to know, are you rich?
Is that funny?
Are you famous? And they love that.
Yeah.
I mean, they love it.
So what do you tell them?
I tell them it's kind of awkward because, I mean, I don't.
Listen, you're on TV.
I don't really do it for the money, and
no,
I don't do it. And so they see that I'm some race car driver coming in, and they're 6 to 12 years old, and they want to know. And so it's kind of I mean, money's always an awkward question to talk about. And
absolutely.
So, I mean, I'd pretty much just tell them I don't really do it for the money. That's not why I do it. And then they asked me if I'm famous, and I personally don't think I'm famous. I'm just a regular guy who has the opportunity to race a race car.
That is so cool. What was Noah like growing up? And what I mean by that is in school. Did you have to go to school? Were you homeschooled because you were racing and stuff like that at the age of 13 years old? What were you like as a student?
I was a troublemaker. I was a class clown, and I was a troublemaker.
So are you the class clown to this day when you are at the racetrack?
Absolutely.
Are you
100%.
Always playing jokes on people? Because and I'm thinking about you being one of Tony Stewart and Clint Boyer always said it perfect. They're like, we're just a bunch of rich rednecks that like to have fun, and it's scary when we have money. And when that comes out of Clint Boyer's mouth, you know don't mess with them.
Exactly.
So
yeah, I don't know. This year, working with my current crew chief, Rudy Fugel, he's been the past championship winning crew chief for the past like 6 years.
Yep.
And so it's a lot. I transitioned from one group at Kyle Busch Motorsports.
Yep.
They have a 3-car team, and so one of the teams there's 3 teams within the Kyle Busch Motorsports team, and so transitioned from one group to Rudy's group, who kind of oversees our whole team, and he's a lot
stricter, not as much fun. I'm trying to help you find the right word here.
Stricter, but
more serious.
I think very serious.
Yeah.
And he still likes to have fun, but it became more of a clearer picture of there's a time and a place for everything.
You're absolutely right. And you changed this year.
And so
you changed as a driver, as a person this year. I mean, one, you're working out all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Not only that, but you actually go and see a sports psychologist.
Yep.
And so that's cool that you have grown in this business. Yeah, you had the raw talent, but now it's like you knew that, hey, if I'm going to take this even another step further, I have to change as a person.
Yeah, I've changed my schedule. I've done all that, and that really started by seeing that psychologist, Jock. He taught me about just the state of the mind and how to get your mindset and what. I mean, you can go into details forever,
right, yeah.
but all that mental mindset stuff. And so I started seeing him, and I knew I had a great opportunity working for Rudy this year, driving for him, and I was nervous before the season started because he's that guy who I only saw his very serious side. I never saw his.
He ain't gonna take no crap.
Exactly, and so. I only saw that serious side of him, so I was nervous. And so I'm like, man, I need to clean everything up, because I'm the type of guy to make jokes, and I'm very, very serious personally about racing. I might not always show it, but deep down I'm very serious, and I'm always thinking about it and whatnot. And I think Rudy, he told me at the beginning of the year, he's like, we were 3 or 4 races in, and he's like, after those first 3 or 4 races, we had lunch together, and he's like, I didn't think that you were this serious in racing, because you came off as a clown to me, and you didn't seem serious about it. But working with you this year, and with myself going into the year, I knew I had to kind of make a change and change kind of my habits and everything. And that's when I realized time and a place for everything. And we're here to do work when we're at the racetrack, and we're not. We still need to do work, but we can also have fun. So
Noah, during a race, you could get worked up at 1 minute. And literally, I mean, if we're at a racetrack and it has 4 turns, at the first turn, everything go perfect. And the second corner, everything go to crap. Next one, you have another good one. Who keeps you calm on the radio? Who can reel you back in when you get heated up in the moment? And because I believe that in life in general, we need people that can reel us back in and kind of like coach us through that next obstacle. Who is that for you?
I feel like Rudy is that guy.
Really? So when his voice comes on the speaker, you know, okay,
it's time to tone it down a little bit.
Yeah. So if you could listen to music during a race, would you? And what kind of music would you listen to?
I don't know. I don't know. That's hard. Like, that's another question I always get is, what kind of music do you listen to when you're racing? It's like, now we got this guy who's standing on top of the grandstands who has a radio on, and he's telling us where cars are around us. That's our spotter. And then we got our crew chief telling us, okay, we're going to pit in 10 laps because we're going to run out of fuel here, and we're going to get 2 tires because the tires on the right sides are wearing out. And so you have all this stuff, and then you got to listen to the motor, and
there's a lot going on that people don't realize.
The tires squealing, and you got to use you can't. I wouldn't listen to music, but if I had to, I'd probably listen to like some rap or something.
Okay.
Like,
have you ever spotted for another driver?
In practice.
Really? You have?
Yeah.
It seems very stressful. And do you learn a lot by spotting for somebody else, being at the top, watching different things?
Seeing it from the spotter stand or in the grandstand, watching a race from there, it gives you another perspective of what it's like. So I've done it a few times just to get that idea of when I'm in the race car, this is what the spotter is seeing.
Okay, right.
So that's helped me quite a bit.
Do you like a lot of chatter of people telling you what's going on in the race car? Or are you the guy that is just like, shut up, leave me alone, and let me do this by myself?
When it's productive and it's good, I love it. I mean, I love people talking to me.
Okay.
95% of the time. But when we went to the dirt track this year, Eldora Speedway, the trucks go there once a year, and we race on asphalt every other race. So it's a very unique track, and I've never done dirt racing growing up. So it's very, very, very challenging. And I normally a guy that we put 6 or 7 laps down in the race. We lap him 6 or 7 times.
Right.
This guy, I basically in the heat race had to hold on to my door numbers because he was flying so past by me that they were going to peel off. That's how bad I was. And so when we were there during the race, it was the most stressful weekend ever. I'm not running good. The spotter is telling me, okay, you need to run the very top of the racetrack in this corner. And I start doing that for 5 to 10 laps, and it's not working. And I'm like, I finally had it. I mean, stuff kept on building up. And I personally feel like I'm very personally thankful for my team and everything they do, and I believe in every person on my team, and I feel like we're the best in the garage. And, but through that whole weekend of spinning out, and I mean, I was out of my element, and I'm like, you know what? Just we weren't making any headway, and they're telling me where to run and everything. I'm like, don't tell me where to run. Just tell me where the guys are around me if I'm clear or if there's a guy to my outside or inside, but don't tell me where to run. I just let me figure it out. I mean, I was just so frustrated with myself that I couldn't run better. Yeah. And so, it was just so aggravating. But I ended up starting 31st in the B main, transitioning. I almost didn't make the race, but I started 31st in the main event, drove all the way up to 6th place, and finished 6th. And I was running probably at one point, like lap 3. The spotter came on the radio and said, "All right, bud, I'll clear out back. You got nothing till the leaders in turn 2." And I was at the start finish line, or I was like in turn 4 or something.
That's incredible.
Like I was the last car on the racetrack. I've never been that in my entire life. Like. And that aggravated. So many things aggravated me.
So what do you do after a weekend that things just were crazy? What do you do as a race car driver to get your mind off things after a race? You come home. What is it for you? Do you jump on your Harley? Do you write poetry? Do you play guitar? Do you go for a walk? Do you get on the boat? What do you do to get yourself away from the track just to clear your mind?
I don't know. I put a lot of my time and effort, but when I'm not racing, I'll go. My buddy Mikey has a wakeboarding boat, and so we'll go on the lake every once in a while, or just go out, hang out with my friends, play NASCAR video games. I mean, it all involves kind of active sports. Yeah. But probably going out on the lake. I really enjoy doing that. It's a lot of fun, and then just hanging out with my buddies.
Okay, I just have a few more minutes, so I want to make sure I get this question in. We were talking about public speaking and how crazy it is and stuff like that. There are certain things that you get to do as a race car driver that most people will never be able to do. One is a lot of the drivers always are able to throw out the first pitch at a baseball game. Have you ever had the opportunity to throw out the first pitch at a baseball game? And I've been told that it is nerve-wracking to do it. So have you? And was it? And if so, was it nerve-wracking?
I've never done it.
Really?
I want to, and I could.
So you haven't done that yet?
No, not yet. Okay. But I know what that feeling would be like. Just not being comfortable, I made my Xfinity Series start. I have the kind of a same deal as I made my Xfinity Series start earlier this year, and I could picture how nerve-wracking it would be because I've never raced these Xfinity guys before, and I'm standing there on the pit road before the race, and these guys are good. I've looked up to these guys that I'm racing, and I have their die-cast cars at home. Like I've been fans of these guys, and I'm getting the opportunity to race, and I'm like making my first ever start, and dude, I'm more nervous than the first time I've ever leaned in to kiss a girl, right? And so I'm standing there on pit road. I'm not sure how it's gonna go. Like I feel like it's not gonna go good, but then deep down, like I feel like I'm a good driver, and I'm like, man, I got to do something good. So I ended up going out there. I started 13th and ended up running. It was at Richmond this year, and ended up driving, being patient throughout the race, and picking a few guys off. And I led it 10 laps throughout that race, ran up front in the top 3.
That's so cool.
And then was right on the leader's bumper there for the last 60 laps, I'd say, running second to the leader, just waiting for him to slip up, and he never slipped up. But I finished probably 4 feet behind him.
That's awesome.
And we were just like that the whole race. And so I was really nervous before the race, and that built a lot of confidence for me. But I know that exact feeling. When I was on that pit road feeling that, that's how I'd be feeling standing up on that mountain about to pitch it.
You already said that you love doing extreme stuff. What is something that you haven't done that you want to do? Have you bungee jumped?
Never.
Would you?
I would, but it doesn't excite me.
Okay, let me ask you this. Is there certain things that you cannot do now because you are a race car driver and you can't get hurt? Or is it one of those things that I will not ask for permission, I will just ask for forgiveness after they catch me doing it?
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty, I don't know, I go jump my mountain bike and do crazy stuff, wake surfing and everything.
A lot of drivers get to go up with like the Blue Angels and stuff like that. Have you done that yet?
Never.
Would
that'd
you?
Be really cool. Yeah, that would be
Do
cool.
you think that you would, how many G's do you think that you would pull with the pilot, and do you think you'd throw up?
I don't know how many G's, but I'd definitely throw up.
You would take it to that extreme then?
That's for sure, yeah.
Your 5-year goal.
5-year goal?
Yep. You're only 20 years old. You'd be 25 years old at this point.
I mean, ultimately, I hope to be racing in the Cup Series in 5 years. But for me, I've never been the guy to look that far in the future, just because I feel I try and take the very realistic approach of just being focused in the moment. And I feel like if I focus right now in the moment and that's my priority, I feel like if I do my job right now, everything's going to take care of itself. And so that's the approach I've been taking of it. I don't have a set 5-year plan or anything. I know what I'm doing next year, and that's to race with Junior Motorsports in the Xfinity Series. But
how tough?
That's not even my concern right now.
Right,
my concern is
you got
to go to
year.
Talladega, my next race, and win that race. So.
Absolutely. So listen, we're going to wrap things up. Do you have any racing rituals?
I don't have anything that like is like a ritual. Like I don't wear the same underwear or anything.
Because some guys get crazy.
But it's not just for racing. But I always tend to put like my right sock on before my left sock, or my right shoe on before my left shoe, my right glove on before my left glove, and just little stuff like that. When is it
that you turn from Noah, just this nice kid, to Noah, the race car driver? For some, it's putting the helmet on. For some, it's starting up the engines. For some, it's the national anthem. For some, it's the prayer. What is it for you? That's something that light switch goes on.
They make fun of me a lot, like all the other drivers, because I'm arguably the most outgoing guy, and I'm always talking to the other guys. And so this year, once I changed my mindset and everything, and leading into the race, that's when it started to be different for these guys, because they always saw me as Noah, joking around with them on the driver intro stage when we're getting ready to be introduced, and joking around, talking to them right before we were about to get in the trucks. But I'd say changed Noah, in the zone Noah, is when I'm walking out to the driver intros and I get tunnel vision. Personally, I get this tunnel vision, and it's when I'm walking by all these other guys.
Yep.
I get up to that driver intro stage. This year I've been doing the same thing every time, just sitting down, sitting away from everyone, and thinking to myself, I'm one bad mother. I'm gonna go kick all these guys.
Yeah.
And that's my mindset leading up to the race is getting in that zone, focusing on what I need to focus on. And for me, if it's going out there and thinking, am I going to kick all these guys?
Yeah.
And they got nothing on me. And so I go into that very serious, don't talk to me mode. And it hasn't been bad. So
no, absolutely. You're having a great year. Noah, I can't believe it's literally been an hour with you, hanging out with you. I appreciate letting us get to know you as a person. I'm excited about next year having you at the Team Chevy stage a whole lot. You'll be racing for Junior Motorsports. And man, thank you so much for taking this time with us. This is Johnny D, the Motivational Cowboy, telling all of you, don't forget you can watch us at Motivational or listen to us at MotivationalCowboy.com. You can also follow us on iTunes podcast and SoundCloud.com/Outstanding Life Podcast. Again, this is Johnny D, the Motivational Cowboy, telling all of you, be safe, have fun, and have yourselves an outstanding day. We'll see you next episode.
Outstanding Life is a Soul Bridge Studio production.